blow, blow, blow the man. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow. We go have a grand time all night tonight. All night tonight. All night tonight. We go have a grand time all night tonight. All night tomorrow night. We go have a fine time all night tonight. All night tonight. All night tonight. We go have a fine time all night tonight. All night tomorrow night. Let me go. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow the man. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow.
A pleasant Thursday evening to each and every one of you, both at home, in the region, and also in the diaspora. Welcome to yet another episode of Across the Wave with yours truly, Annette Ferguson. This is a program which is brought to you every Thursday between the hours of 6:30 to 7:30. But please allow me to apologize for the late start. Discuss matters of national importance, that you know exactly what is happening across your beautiful nation. I trust many of you had a beautiful and wonderful week thus far. I know there's one day remaining, the work week, that's Friday, and I know many of us, we wait for TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. So I trust that you were able to accomplish many of your tasks throughout this week, and you're looking forward to the weekend, where you can relax, where you can probably meet with relatives and families, where you can probably socialize, but distantly. um, that being said, I also want to encourage you to share the life, share the life, share the life, as many friends as this is where we bring the truth and nothing else but the truth to you. I know there are many other programs that the APNU AFC members of parliament too, they too have their own platform or programs, that is, that they would normally interact with you, the people out there, to let you know what is happening. I guess you're seeing just beneath my screen here, to my right, possibly your left. I have a little advert there, which I'm asking you. I will be doing a toy drive during the month of December. This is to distribute to the less fortunate, more or less the kids in the East and West Rumveld areas. This is something myself and team in the East Rumveld area we do annually. So despite the COVID, the Rumveld and joy to the little ones. So if you wish to donate to this gesture or this drive, I would ask that you may contact with the number provided there, where you can be provided with more detailed information, so that as I said before, we can put smiles on the faces of the little ones. And we know that Christmas is all about, it's not about the Christmas trees. It's not about the decorations. It's not about probably the food we eat and all manner of things. But Christmas, it's the birth or the coming of Christ. Advent, the Anglicans would refer to it as. I was once an Anglican altar girl, that is, before becoming, joining the Pentecostal church. So they, in the Christian calendar, more or less, the Catholic and the Anglicans, they would, refer of Christ. And for us in the assemblies, we do refer to it as Advent too, but we, more or less would um, um, deem it Christmas. And we know it's the birth of Christ. We know that it's also a time for joy. It's also time for sharing. It's also a time for family, because family is important. Without the family, we cannot survive. So we need each other. So as I said before, just before I get into the meat of the program here this evening, I just want to encourage you to share this live. Share this live. Let your friends, whether on all the groups that we have, let them know that across the waves is on, and let them tune in so that they can be apprised or informed as to what is happening. That being said, I want to start reminding you, today being the second, no, today being the third, oh my gosh, today being the 3rd of December 2020. It's the last month in the year of 2020, and I guess many of you will agree with me that 2020 has indeed been a challenging year, not only for us as Guyanese, not only for us as families, but also for the entire world. But if I'm to narrow it down to Guyana, 2020 indeed was a year of a lot of events in this nation. We had elections, then we had, the whole recount saga, then we had the corona virus came. I think it's on the 11th of March 2020. Then we had, people coming to government by illegitimate means, and so many other things we were in 2020 that we were all confronted with. But most importantly, we have to give God thanks and praise for sparing our lives to see yet another month, the last month in December. But I trust that many of us can rally out, and the only way we can rally out to see 2020 goodbye to 2020 is that we have to ensure that we protect ourselves from COVID-19. Um, so my first topic this evening is that of the review or the assessment of the People's Progressive Party civic regime that came to office by questionable means, fraudulent votes, invalid votes, and we know all that when that played out after the March 2nd, 2020 elections. But today is exactly 123 days since they installed People's Progressive Party civic regime has taken office. And we, as Guyanese, we have seen the number of things since the coming of this regime to office. And we ought not to forget the heinous crime, the heinous killing of our little, who could have been our probably a future president, a future, ambassador, a future prime minister, future parliamentarian, or teacher in the village there in West Coast Bobis, the Henry boys. It seems as though we have forgotten of this heinous act that was perpetuated on the little village there in region number 5, West Coast Berbice, there in the village called I think it's number 5 village on the west coast of Babis. But that being said, we know that since the death of those 2 youngsters, and then we had the Narish Singh who went thereafter, the families were promised by Ifad Ali that he will not leave any stones unturned. He will ensure that the perpetrators are brought to justice. But my brothers and sisters, from September to now, we have not seen the government acting with any interest to ensure that justice is served on the deaths of the Henry Boys and Narish Singh. We know that senior. We know that Mr. Nigel Hughes is fighting the case, um, and I think they're at the stage whereby they're trying to see whether we can we can get we call it private investigators to come in so that we can know the truth. We can bring a closure to this particular matter or this particular case. We do not want this case to die as a cold case. We do not want these murders to go down, to be added to the 400 plus cases, unsolved murders that we have in this country. Remember 1992, Monica Reese, to date, 28 years after, her family, they're still waiting for justice to be served. Satyosha, we know what happened. I think it might have been in 2006 if my memory served me accurately. 14 years after, we're still, the Sauce family are yet to get justice for the father, a husband, a brother, a friend, a comrade. We have seen what would have happened to Ronald Waddell, another cold case. That case is yet to be solved. Mrs. Waddell is yet to know the truth behind the killing of her husband. What else have we seen? Come you wing. Come you wing. That voice that was saying to all Guyanese in 2015, there is time for change. There is time for change. He alone stood in front many days in front of the Attorney General's office calling for the removal of Anil Nandalal. But because of him speaking out, what was his penalty? His penalty was death. His penalty was death. Just a bullhorn in his hand, sounding his voice to many, to say to Guyanese it was time for a change. But he didn't live to see the change in May of 2015. What else have we seen? What else have we seen? The additional murders that are yet to be solved. You remember the case when Anil Nandalal's driver, I think it's Hollandar, that brought a case, an elections case at the High Court there. Couple days after, Mr. Hollandar was a dead man. We're yet to know who killed Hollandar. So we ought not to forget the killings of those two young lads in West Coast of Bobis, and then followed by Harish Singh. These are things we ought not to forget. So since the return of this illegitimate government, we have seen killings of our brothers and sisters. What else have we seen? 11.5 tons of illegal substance busted in Belgium. Well, yesterday we heard that they have found the images. Well, I trust that the images that were truly found would ensure that we, Guyanese are made aware as to how 11.5 tons containerized was able to pass or left these shores of Ghana. Shipment for drugs. Too many illegal substances going through this country. From 2015 to 2020, from the time up to the time we left office, we had a state that wasn't run by narco. When last, under the David Granger-led administration, you heard about 11.5 tons of cocaine leaving the shores of Georgetown? Because we had the DEA office set up here in Georgetown. We had systems put in place to ensure the non-passage of these illegal substances. But from the time these people returned to government, it seems as though it was payback for the boys. So it would have taken some time, for the real money to start circulating in the economy. So what they've decided, there's now one man doing 11.5 tons. There's days of packing. That is days of packing, my brothers and sisters. And it can't be a one man, because 11.5 tons is no ordinary tons. And one man, that would weary one man probably within 1 hour. So let us wait to see what the revelations will be after the images are thoroughly examined. And we must ensure that we get answers to these things. The other point I want to raise under this particular topic, that is the assessment of the PPP, is the wanton and unlawful dismissal of professionals within the public service. But you see, these are things we must ensure remains at the forefront. We cannot allow these things to die naturally, because there are families that are hurting because of this particular act. In this COVID time, yes, we know that, persons, many nations, you got persons working and earning probably, half a pay. In some countries, you got the downsizing in time because, the whole staff rotation amongst every other thing. But no, when the People's Progressive Party Civic decided that they were home, especially one ethnic group. Yes, we had indigenous people being sent home. We had Indo-Guyanese. They too were sent home. But predominantly, it is the Afro-Guyanese who suffered this particular fate. And these people are well qualified. PhD holders, master holders, degree holders, not by fake. These are people who were well certified, who worked tirelessly, burning the midnight oil to ensure that they qualified themselves so that they can contribute towards the development of their nation. But no, we have persons who would have replaced some of these people so far who got questionable certificates. And it starts from the top. Because make a comparison here. His Excellency David Granger He is a man with several degrees, several masters to his name, other certificates. Therefore, he was qualified to run or to be the president, not only because of him being a Guyanese, but because of his academic and the qualifications in which he holds. Real certificates, not bogus. He went to real universities. University of Guyana, studied at UWI there in Trinidad, and I can go on and on. But we have an installed president who cannot, up to this time, he cannot show the public that, well, look, this is my diploma, or this is my master. But all we knew is that someplace in Iflot, probably some, trying to outfit to be a university, provided some certificate. And what certificate was it? Masters. Now tell me. No way would you jump no way would you jump from CXC or GC straight to masters. I can understand. Perhaps you might have associate degrees. You might have probably, diplomas that might allow you to move to a next stage of a master. But what I do know is that the foundation at the university, most cases, some persons might start off with a certificate, then you move to a diploma, then the next step is a degree, then your next step would be a master's, then the next step would be a PhD, Doctor of Philosophy. But up to now, Guyanese cannot be shown these certificates. But this man jumped from a diploma or probably CXC straight to a master's. Then he was bestowed some PhD for some urban development studies or something to that effect. But people like you and I, we work hard for our little certificates. As I said before, we got to burn the midnight oil to ensure that we come out successful, while there are many receiving it probably on a platter. So, the wanton and unlawful dismissal of our Guyanese brothers and sisters continue under the hands of this illegitimate regime. But many of our older folks, I guess, you would have been hearing Dr. David Hines, I think His Excellency David Granger, you had the leader of the opposition, and many other, senior folks who continue to remind us that what we are seeing now in 2020, 28 years, is what actually happened in 1992 when the PPP came to government on October 5th, 1992. A number of Guyanese were sent home. Why? So I could imagine sometimes, I try to put myself, what it was like in 1992. But 2020 has given me that image that flame to show or to see exactly what transpired in 1992. So these persons have now been replaced by many persons who got a lot of question marks hanging across or over their heads. Are they fit? Are they competent? Persons who are involved, persons who were involved in nefarious activities. These people, they have now been promoted to serve probably as advisors, as head of agencies, as PSAs in some of the ministries. When sometimes it pains you, it hurts you to see the amount of work that the APNU AFC government would have put in to ensure that we had, a professional public service. Not only to ensure we had a professional public service by, training, certain categories of employees within those ministries or agencies, but we had the College Institute, the public service school, where a young person just completed secondary school, whether at the GCE level, the CXC level, or the advanced levels. They really want to work with the government. We had programs, training programs, whereby these persons were now, given that opportunity to be trained at that institute, at that school, the Bertram Collins Public Service School, to ensure that these persons get the basic foundation where training is concerned. I guess by now, the illegitimate government would have done away with that, because things that were put in place to benefit Guyanese, and now that you have new governments, rather than them seeing it as an excellent idea, something that they can build upon, improve it, probably make it better than how we had it. Oh no, oh no, because you know why? They don't have the vision. They don't have the plans. They don't have, the know-how or the wherewithal to have these things, implemented. No, it is not their interest. It is not their interest. And I can tell you this, when we were in government and the opportunities presented themselves for, technical officers to be, trained, probably be sent um, to a conference, to a symposium, to a workshop. We invested. Many of the workers there would say, you know, Minister, we are so happy that this government is making it possible for our people to be trained. Because in the past, when these opportunities presented themselves, they were shut down. The responsible ministers would say, well, look, cabinet ain't got time to discuss that. So the memorandum never went to cabinet for its blessings under the People's Progressive Party. Say, you know why? Because their interest was never to invest in the human resources. We already got a small population, a small public service, because we don't have all of the the necessary resources. I'm speaking in terms of the human resources in the various ministries. So what you had, but we made it possible for many of the staff to be exposed to training, because we saw it as as an important tool, because in order for you to have a well functioning public service that can deliver on the policies of any government, you must ensure that you have the right set of people in the positions. And that is why, on the job training is also important. Because when these persons are now given the exposure to be trained abroad, they will now come back and date to, so you call it like, train off trainee. That person was trained, so he or she can now come and train their fellow colleagues. But that wasn't happening under the People's Progressive Party Civic. I can tell you, the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, that is the body that is responsible for the oversight of the aviation sector here in Guyana. And when myself and David Patterson were ministers, when we took office at public infrastructure as it was then, boy, oh boy, the Civil Aviation Authority is a technical organization. It's a technical organization. It's not an easy organization. So it's not your maths and English going to give you a job out at the tower there, out at the airport there, the air traffic controller. For you to become an air traffic controller, how many training, several tiers of training you have to go through. Because at the end of the day, it is your responsibility as an air traffic controller to control the traffic of the aircraft in the air. So it's not only maths and English, as I said before, that will give you that job. You got to know a little physics. You got to know a little geography. You understand me? And some technical courses you must know, you must have. So we invested tremendously. I recall in 1 year, I think we expended 30 million Guyana dollars to send about, it might have been, I'm trying to remember, it's either under 20 air traffic controllers to Trinidad to be trained. Because Trinidad has all the technologies. What we don't have here, Trinidad has. And those persons were able to go spend a couple months there. And they came back well-rounded, well-groomed, and well-grooved. So we invested tremendously in the public service. So what they didn't do in 23 years, we were able to do it in less than 5 years. Because you know what? We realize that our country has the potential to develop, to grow. But in order for our country to grow, to develop, and to move forward, we have to ensure that our people are well trained. Our people are well groomed. And as I said, grooved. So, what else? So to date, we have close to 1,000 persons. Close to 1,000 persons who have been dismissed from the public service. And the office of the leader of the opposition we have made it possible now. We haven't, been encouraging different ones to come in. And persons have been coming in. They have been coming in, presenting their dismissal letters to us, along with, their contracts and so forth. So those matters are being looked at. And, the government of the day, the illegitimate government of the day, they will be hearing from us. Because as I shared with you over the past 2 weeks, that it is your constitutional right to work. You live here, you must work here. It is your constitutional right to work. So when they dismiss you now, where are you going to go and pick up a job? Because mind you, in the private sector, they control in the private sector. They control in the private sector. So now that your name or the names of those persons who have been dismissed were made public, I sure they will be at a disadvantage of finding a job in the private sector. So what is going to happen now? We will see vast brain drain or migration of our people. But I recall it might have been about 3 years ago while we were in office, and his leader, the president, went up to New York. He was meeting with Guyanese in the diaspora. I know what he said. Don't send barrels and boxes. We need the brains. That is what we need. Guyanese were willing to return home to invest in their homelands under an APNU AFC government. But now with the illegitimate in office, I'm sure those persons are now having second thoughts whether to return or not. The other point I want to raise under this particular topic is that of the flooding of lands. Yeah, since they came to power, we had lands being occupied by legitimate Guyanese. Legitimate Guyanese. Their place of birth, Guyana, were flooded. Women were shot at. Not forgetting children too. Shot at. But you know what? When you look at what happened at Success, I was told by a colleague of mine that in Region 3, you got, I think, lands it might be somewhere in number 1 canal. It's like, I think I was told it's a dam being occupied by PPP supporters. Or it's a reserve, might be a reserve, being occupied by PPP supporters. But you know what? What they played out in Success, they ain't going there, but they make their people comfortable by giving them lights and water quite recently. Is this equality? Is this equity? Is this fairness? That is why Guyanese, I think we've been silent. We're silent. Things that are affecting you, you have to speak out. Don't wait on the politicians to do it. Yes, the politicians will do their work because it is our responsibility to represent you. But at the same time, while we're fighting for you, you cannot remain silent. You cannot remain silent. Many people now, they're fearful to speak. I recall one woman saying to me, a willing but a frightened, because how these people are fearful. I got close to 3 1/3 close to 33 and a third to retire. And if these people find out, I don't want to be victimized. I don't want to be sent home and be denied my gratuity and my pension. So for security purposes, for security purposes, people do not want to speak out. And this is the type of fair tactics the People's Progressive Party Civic use to shut people up, to intimidate people. And not I saying it, is what your Constitution said. Last week I shared that with you. It is your right. It is your right. You go to Article, I think it's 138 through to 152 of the Constitution, which speaks of your right. So the situation out at Success remains. I know for a fact that they would have promised the people that they were going to find alternative lands for them to be reallocated or relocated. But you know what? We, the government, the leader of the opposition, I myself held a press conference calling on the government to regularize the lands out at Success. Rather than you relocating the people, why can't you regularize the lands? They're Guyanese and they're entitled. Not a man coming from somewhere. Yes, we welcome investment. But there's the old saying, charity begins at home. So while we welcome investment, we still got thousands of people, thousands of Guyanese who are yet to be provided with a piece of land to build a house of their own. You got people and I will, once I have breath and I'm on this program, I will continue to remind you, you have people who got applications in the system there at CH and PA dated as far back as 1992. When I went to housing and I saw, some of, persons who were given allocation is in the 90, or sometimes persons, turn up to meet with me, they came with an application, an acknowledgement letter rather, which would reflect that, their application was made since in the 90s. I recall one pastor from West Bank, Demerara. When he came to see me, his application was 1997. 1997. So they had 23 years. We only had, not a full 5 years. They had 23 years. So, and they should have been addressing all of those applications. So when we went into government, we should not have been dealing with applications from in the 90s and in the early 2000s. But we are aware that there are many persons out there who were given multiple allocations. So if the system was fair to the poor man, we would not have a total of 50,000 plus applications when we went into government on this pending there. They weren't dealing with the people fairly. And the other thing is that they would have, sold acres of lands to private developers. In some cases, their friends, their cronies, their families. And we know what transpired in Sparendam. People in Pleasance, Apparently, they wanted to take you. All remember that story when they wanted to take away, covet the Sparnam community ground. And I like how the people in Pleasance stood up against them, Barajagio and the cabals. They stood up against them. You're not going to deny us our recreational facility. People, out there bought lands at on the market value and all kind of thing. And when the poor class of people are made to pay huge sums of money, is that fair? It cannot be fair. It cannot be fair. And as the saying goes, the poor will always remain poor. Why? Because of the disadvantage they face. Persons in authority, the disadvantage they face by people who are affluent. So that is what we called on. What is the other? I know my time is slipping, but sometimes you gotta, as you touch on these points, you gotta break it down so that you people can understand what is really happening. The other point is the trump up charges. The trump up charges against Valda Lawrence, Keith Lowenfield, Roxanne Myers, my one-time lecturer at the University of Guyana, Miller, February, and the others. Now tell me, when you bring in a private charge against persons, you got to come with your evidence. But no, they ain't got evidence. They don't have evidence. But because of their control, they have politicized the Ghana police force. I recall when we were in government, and it was being touted. It might have been by somebody in the opposition then that there was political interference in the Ghana police force. Leslie James, the then commissioner of police, came out boldly and said he don't take orders from politicians. That is what he said. But poor thing, table toy now. Hoppy can't say the same thing like James. Hoppy cannot say that because even the blacks could see that the Ghana police force has been hijacked by the People's Progressive Party Civic. No longer are we seeing, them exercising professionalism. No longer are we seeing that. But under the APNU AFC government, yes. We had, we were still step by step we would have gotten there. Step by step we would have gotten there. But we started. And many Guyanese could have seen the different transformation, whether at some, whether in the the whole decorum of police officers, or whether in the way in which they were doing things, how the buildings were being maintained. Yes, we started. Though that was just the beginning. But so you got these trump up charges brought against these people who serve in in these capacities, in these high offices for years. But you know what? They want to embarrass them. Not only they want to embarrass them, but they also want to compromise the elections petition. They want to compromise the elections petition. But we are holding firm with our brothers and sisters. And as Guyanese, as I said before, we must speak out when these wrongs are happening. Where your leaders them say, come out and give support. You gotta come out and give support. You see what happened? Y'all saw what happened when George Floyd was killed? How the Americans came together. They look for see who's black, who's white, who's Caucasian and all kind of thing. No, who's West Indian and all kind of thing. They came out as one in unity as Americans to voice their voices of a wrong that was committed to an American brother. So these are, we have seen, Rosa Parks. Y'all remember Rosa Parks? Yes, that black woman, that Afro-American woman who stood her ground. She ain't giving up her seat. Martin, the late Dr. Martin Luther King, who stood against injustices. And we've seen too many in the last 123 days. We can't let these people be it can't be business as usual. So in our little groups, in our little corners, utilize the social media, speak out. You gotta be brave. Not only like Ferguson or Valdo Lawrence or James Bond or Amnali or Joseph Hammond. You got to be brave. Or Coretta McDonald. We must speak out. So we will be, following these cases very closely. These are the trump up charges because they're still pending in the courts. So let us see how it go. And the other point is threatening to take back lands from people. Look, Guyanese is 83,000 square miles. 83,000 vast lands we got in this nation. And every Guyanese must be able to be afforded a plot of land. So for those persons who were given allocations, for those persons who got legal documents, whether by way of lease, whether by way of an agreement of sale, whether by way of a receipt, don't let nobody bully you. Don't take bullying. Don't take bullying. Let these people know that I live here and I am entitled to a piece of here. So we will be watching them very closely. Very closely. You're being threatened to give back your lands. Once you're being threatened to take back the monies, I telling you, I, Annette Ferguson, telling you, you visit the leader of the opposition office in Crowell Street, or you text me. You text me. And I can tell you how we gonna deal with it. Because we gotta stand up to these people. We have to stand up to these people. So, what do we have next? I have 7 minutes leading up to program time. So, it's so much to discuss and it cannot be discussed in 1 hour. So, my third topic for tonight's discussion is that of, I themed it, we can focus. And on the weekend focus, this is what I have: the return of Dr. Lorge Luncheon to the office of the Luncheon. A sickly man, a sickly man, probably was forced from his bed to return to the cabinet room because perhaps, he's the man with the brains. He's the man with the brains. So a sickly man, you tell me, these people really serious? These people care, but whether you're sick, whether you're wheelchair bound, whether you're walking with a stick, whether you can't see, even the blind, they might give a job to because they don't care. They don't care. So, when we came into government, they talk about geriatrics. Oh, look over there. Y'all are full of geriatrics now. You had poor me, Jordan, and a few younger ones on the government benches. I used to feel a little embarrassed because how can you refer to me as a geriatric? How can you refer to some of my other colleagues as geriatrics? Geriatrics, but they had the brains. But now they came to government. Are we still seeing geriatrics? They got geriatrics. Roger Luncheon. Roger Luncheon for one. And the others will start. I'll get some of the names for next week. You understand me? Roger Luncheon for one is a geriatric. So other than you grooming a young person to be whether you're HPS, head of the presidential secretariat, you bring back a sickly man. A sickly man. And the other thing we can focus. How many of you quite recently visited the markets, whether Border Market or Stabrook Market or any part of the city? Haven't you seen a slight change in the environment? Yes, it seems as though people, they've started back with this culture, of dumping garbage here, dumping garbage there, dumping garbage everywhere. When we came to government in 2015, we transformed this entire city. Georgetown was no longer deemed, or Georgetown was no longer identified as the garbage city. We know that Yubraj Narayan and his team, they have been working very hard. Despite all the challenges, who we want to pay the taxes, who we want this and who we want that, in order for a city to develop, you got to pay your taxes. You think you could go to America and tell the district or the county that are basically, controlled by mayors that pay your taxes? Parking meter, you got to pay. Bicycle parking, you got to pay. All these other services, you have to pay in America. But you know what? Guyana, Guyana is the what should I say? Is the disrespect country. When certain people are managing the affairs of this country, we're being disrespected. We were disrespected by Bajans. When you go, you have to sit down on a bench. Disrespected by this body. Disrespected by that body. But when the government changed in 2015, oh my God, it was like a weight came off of this country. But you know what? You know what? People are saying they're feeling a heaviness over this nation. Yeah, it's spirits. It's spirits. Demons. Remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, wickedness, principalities in high places, and rulers of darkness. Yes. That is what is happening over this nation. So no longer, are we, feeling the lightness over our nation. Yes, we're going backwards, retrogressing. That's what the PPP is doing to us. Rather than us going 10 steps forward, we're going one step backward. Because these people, they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. Where is your national plan? You claim you got everything. You're better than the APNU AFC. You could run this nation better than us. Remember last week I tell y'all, they had no plan for the fiber optic cable. They promised we gonna get high speed from Brazil. Where to Skeldon? Well, we still looking for it. When we came to government, where did we find the wires? They were all exposed and billions were paid. What else? What we were the Skeldon Sugar Factory, 260 plus million US dollars loan, mind you. We still paying for it. And look, it's a white elephant. No plan. The Milo Falls, no plan. No plan. The only vision they got is for this. How they could get their sticky fingers on the coffers. That's the only vision they have, to enrich themselves and suffer Guyanese people. No plan. The airport, of which 150 million US dollars. 150 million US dollars. We still paying for the loan. We got to pay for that loan. Our generations to come, they will have to offset the loan payments. There was no plan, my people. And I recall in the 10th Parliament, when we asked, because it was Robeson Ben who was the minister then, when we asked, can you share with us? Remember the APNU AFC, we were controlling the parliaments then in the 10th Parliament. When we asked the question, let us see the design. Where is the design for the Chetty Jagan International Airport Expansion Project? They never. But you know what? When we came to government, we see the plan. Wherever they had, we were able to see it. I recall when we had the whole issue in the 10th Parliament, when they were giving monies, taxpayers' dollars, to a failed sugar industry, Gaisuku. Minister, Honorable Greenwich, I remember him asking, can the government, it was the PPPC government then, can you submit to us a plan, a report, how, on the operations of Gaisuku? We never see that plan. We never see it. So they're not about, plans. They're not about, ensuring that they got a vision, to move things forward. They're not about that. I recall, and I must find, I must find images so that I can show you. We did, I guess many of you, might have been seeing the layout of the cabinet room. And I must, ask my colleagues if they can get, what it was before and how we, were able to improve on it, the aesthetic of the cabinet room. You know, oh, man, if you see the cabinet room, now that they're in government, I am seeing images on Facebook whereby the microphones that you use, at the cabinet sessions, all the wires, all the wires are being run on the surface of the desk. Now tell me, them people like they ain't got either. So just how the probably just run the house, that's how they want to run this government. That's how they want to run the government. Those cables were properly, run under the desk under our time. So all that you were seeing during our time was just the bare microphone because the cables were all run under the table there at cabinet. So I know, it's program time already on me. I have so much, my brothers and sisters, to talk about. But, I just want, before I bring the curtains down, I just want to turn our attention to two other matters I want to address. The other matters are, one, the treatment of our brothers and sisters of Haiti. Look, Haiti Haiti became a member of CARICOM. I think it might have been on the 3rd of July 1997. 23 years. Haiti has been a part of us. You know, they would have satisfied all, before, becoming a member of CARICOM. And to see us treating our sisters and brothers of this small community like that, it's troubling to me. You, as CARICOM nationals, as nationals of CARICOM states, we have a right to free movement. That is why you had the birthing of the CSME, CARICOM Single Market Economy, which also allows for the free movement of people. So you can leave Guyana, go live and work in Haiti. You ain't to go to Barbados or visa to go to Haiti, if my memory serves me accurate. But how come now you telling people now that they got to get the Haiti got to get visa for come to Guyana? And look how they've treated those people. It is unfair. You're treating them like if they're dogs. They're not dogs. They're not four-footed animals. They're two-footed human beings who are trafficking these people. You haven't given the people a chance to explain themselves, why they're here, where they're going, who they're coming to, and all manner of thing. But you just decided, oh, they're being trafficked. You don't know by who, where, or why, and all kinds of things. But you decided that you're going to send them to, you're going to deport them without giving them a fair hearing. But you know what? Just like all of the atrocities, the people who get it knocked off, the Henry boys who died, the Nari Singh who died, and all the other atrocities, the lands flooding out with people, and our brothers and sisters in the diplomatic community, the Americans, where is Sarah Lynch? Very quiet. Chacha G, very quiet. Gwen Quinn, very quiet. And my friend from EU, very quiet. You haven't heard a word from these people. But you know what? They were honored last evening or night before the last by GMSA for what? Restoring democracy. Restore what democracy? But I want to wrap up now. The last point I want to raise is that of the COVID. The COVID. Look, My brothers and sisters, COVID is real. COVID is real. Every day our numbers are increasing. Every day our numbers are increasing. The death rate is 151 to date. The death rate is 151 to date. And you know what? Still we can't see a plan. How we can tackle this thing? There is no plan to tackle this thing, you know. But the plan is, their plan is to open up. Oh, go downtown, man. If you see how my people there moving, you want to know if it's a, you know, again, it's free from COVID. To see how some of our people are moving around the town in their numbers. Some wearing the mask and all kind of thing. Earlier today, I was listening to the representative from the United Minibus Association, who is very vocal, and is also concerned about, you know, the returning the buses to 100% capacity. It cannot work. It shouldn't work. A number of people, persons out there, they are infected. COVID in our face. It in our race, it in our age. So what we have to do, since the authorities, Frank Anthony and the two advisors, Barry Ramsaran and Leslie Ramsamy, since they don't have a plan, because the man who has imposed himself as vice president, but we know he's the president, said that people got to die. People got to die. So they don't have a plan in place to curb this runaway train. You had Prime Minister Phillips some week ago. Oh, they got, it's being curbed. Curb my foot. When people are still dying, when cases are increasing, how can that be curbed? You haven't said to the nation, this is our plan to tackle, to arrest this dreadful disease. It's taking lives. I shared with you last week, Joe Biden, long before becoming president-elect of the United States of America, made it absolutely clear. He had a plan. He had a plan as a person running for presidency. He had a plan. He wasn't fully, executing his functions as a president until January 21st of the United States of America. But you know what? He is still engaging different ones. So I guess when he gets in fully, and he has access to the resources, he would able to start implementing what he has already put together. But when they were in opposition, you're hearing they had a plan. Now they're in government, they still can't show Guyanese this plan. But the plan is open up the drinking bars, open up the casinos, the carnival casinos, sleeping, open up the other place there on Main Street, Palm Courts, open up here, open up there, widely. So the onus is on you out there, the onus is on me, and the onus is on all of us to ensure that we protect ourselves. Mask up, spray up, and keep we distance. That is what we have to do. And it's only by us doing that we will be able to save ourselves and also save many other lives out there. So we know that the $25,000 in meet yet to Georgetown to region number 4. So I was told probably, or I learned that probably sometime next week they're gonna start, distributing in Georgia. But this is a topic I'm gonna pick up next week, right? The other topic I really wanted to raise with you is the non-convening of the National Assembly. But this is something that I will, delve into next week so that you can understand why the leader of the opposition and all other members, the AFC, I know they too have been calling for us to have sittings of the National Assembly to take care of. We have your business to take care of. Because we don't want people to say that, you know what? They're getting the stipend. There is another thing I gotta touch on. Let you know what is the salary of the ministers of the government. What is the salary of an ordinary member of parliament? Because we knew that after May 2015, we heard, oh, we give ourselves 50%. But I need to break it down to let you understand what really play out there. So next week we will discuss that, right? So we have a number of issues on our agenda, a number of matters on our agenda. We wrote, my colleagues, presented motions. We presented questions, and many of these things they have been denied because you know why? You know why? Gail to sharing all of them. They manipulating the operations of the National Assembly. So since September, after the budget, we have not met as a 65-member team to discuss matters of national importance. Right? So I want to end by saying to you, as I said before, we all got to protect ourselves, maintain your social distancing. And remember, Christmas coming, hold your pockets. Christmas coming, hold your pockets. You got to ensure you put aside for rainy days because we don't know what will happen next year. We don't know what will happen next year. So please, I'm begging you, don't go to courts, don't go to Singer, don't go down Regent Street for say you're buying and spend out all your monies. And come January, you have nothing. Buy things that are essential. Buy food. Food. Those are essential things that you should be spending. Spend smartly, spend wisely, and spend prudently. That is what you have to do. So I want to end by saying to you, thank you for joining me on this live. I do look forward to your support. My little toy drive there. Please, I do look forward to your support so that I can make this a successful event. So I look forward to you joining me next week at 6:30 right here. Right here. I want you to, go to the page, like my page, share the page so that at least we can have, more persons coming on, and hearing what I have to say. I know some of my colleagues, they too have started programs similar to this. MP Sherwin Holder, I think he is on Tuesday nights from 8:30 to 9. I know MP Coretta MacDonald, she is advancing the cause on every Wednesday from I think it's 6:30 to 7. You have the leader of the opposition addressing issues. I think is his program every Tuesday between 5:30 to 6. I think it is. And then my other colleague from East Bank, Nia Flu, she too has a program on Saturdays from 11 to 11:30. I know that as we speak, my friend, my colleague and friend, brother in Christ, Sharad Duncan, he has a program in the ring. So that is currently on from 8 to 9. So I'm sharing this with you. So, and then we have the APNU live every afternoon from Monday to Friday from 5 in the afternoons way up to 6 in the evening. So please tune in to all of these outlets so you can hear what we have to share with you. And don't worry with what we are reading in Chronicle. Don't worry with what we are seeing on Newsroom, News, iNews, Guyana Times, Show News, these platforms, and you hear what we have to say to you, because we are bringing the truth and nothing else but the truth. So help me God. So I want to thank you very much for spending time with me. um, I do look forward to you joining me next Thursday at 6:30 to 7:30, where we will be discussing a menu of issues. So with those few words, I want to bring the curtain down and want to say, do stay safe, do enjoy the rest of your week into your weekend, and may God richly bless us all. Thank you very much and good night.
Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holla the blow, blow, blow the man. Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holla the blow, blow. We go have a grand time all night tonight. All night tonight. All night tonight. We go have a grand time all night